If you're a coach or service provider and you like the idea of mapping out processes, and you've tried things like Canva, Miro, Lucidchart, Whimsical to try and map out workflows or have OBMs or VAs try to make you SOPs in the software and it just didn't stick, it's okay. You were using the wrong tool for the job, but no worries. In this video, you're going to geek out on the coolest tool to outline processes and workflows. If we haven't met yet, hey, my name is Ashley, and I run a company called Systems Over Stress, where I help coaches and service providers scale without burning out. And my expertise is Airtable. In this episode, this is a series I call Ashley Stays in Her Lane, where I bring in experts that really nerd out on the things that they're really good at. And today I'm talking to Kronda Adair, CEO of Carvel Digital, and she helps nonprofits and mission-led organizations build resilient systems that support their teams instead of overwhelming them. So we're very aligned on that. She really specializes, though, and is doubling down on process mapping, specifically with Puzzle. She is the #1 user of Puzzle. So this is like if Airtable, if I was like just getting started on the ground floor of Airtable, like she is that for Puzzle. Workflow automations, like this is totally her jam. And it is just it's not my jam. Kronda and I have known each other for years. We're long-term systems friends. And when I saw her geeking out about Puzzle, I got curious because I used to use Whimsical in the past, but I got really it just got like heavy and cumbersome because it wasn't the right tool for the job. So I stopped using it. But truly seeing Kronda's way she uses Puzzle, I was like, oh, this is the tool for the job. So if you are looking to document your workflows, or if you're even curious of why you should do that, why that's important, we are talking about all of that today and why it's so important to document your processes and how it helps you save money, delegate, and make smarter decisions with your businesses, your process, your tech tools, all of those things. So let's dive into this conversation. It was so great. There's a demo of Puzzle as well. Can't wait for you to see this and enjoy this conversation with Kronda and I. All right. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to nerd out on mapping workflows and specifically Puzzle. Do they call it Puzzle or Puzzle IO? I don't know what they call it.
Just Puzzle.
Just Puzzle? Okay, great. So we have known each other for content for people. We've known each other for years in this business space, and we are like systems sisters, more systems cousins, I would say, because we are aligned in that we both care about systems, but how we approach them and what we do, and specifically with documentation, is very different. And so I'm really excited to bring you on today because personally, I don't do the thing that you do. And it's like aspirational for me. So I think I'm like one of your ideal clients. And it's like, yeah, maybe that would work for me, but it's not something that we currently do. And you are really great at process mapping, SOPs, and all of those things. We don't build flowcharts in my business, but I do know how powerful that process can be, especially for people who are overwhelmed or not super technical. Like I know I can map things in my head and I can build those things in my head, but I think you have such a great skill set in being able to show non-technical, very like systems stressed out people how everything works and plays together. So before we get into like the tools and process mapping and Puzzle, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you help and what actually the work that you do?
Yes. So I'm Kronda Adair. I'm the founder of Carvel Digital, which I started in 2013, just making like $500 WordPress sites. So it's been a journey.
Mhm.
And I am coming out of an era where I've been doing done for you automation. So I have set up many client hubs. I have basically forced clients to be like, hey, go get the client hub so we can knock this out. Um, And one of the things that I've always tried to do in all the different phases of my business, make visible what we're doing. Okay. What is this process? And I would say that 90+% of my clients are ADHD or some type of neurodivergent. And so like if you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
Sure.
And so I've used I've used Lucidchart and Miro and Whimsical and like all the sort of digital whiteboards to do that. And a couple of years ago, I found Puzzle, and Puzzle is the first tool that is specifically made to map business processes. And I mean, I think we've all experienced the difference between trying to get something to do a thing that wasn't really made for it versus being like, oh, this is purpose built. And so as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'd sent a breakup text to all those other tools. I was like, this is it. Um, So I started using that to map out all my client processes, to map out my own processes. And it's so robust and there's so much, Brian, the founder of Puzzle, called it decision grade documentation that you can do, that it became its own job. So I realized I'm doing 2 jobs, but for one price. And so I decided to pivot to really just focus on mapping processes with Puzzle and doing system strategy and doing tech strategy because of all the rich data that you can get. And so that's what I'm doing now. I literally, as we're recording this, just relaunched my website last night so that it actually says what I do. My new focus is working with mission driven organizations and teams of like 5 to 30 people. And That's not to say I'm completely abandoning the solopreneurs of the world or the smaller teams. I think this is really good for them too, and I will have a container to be able to support those folks. But I think the sweet spot is that those size teams that are like, we are ready to scale and we want to make sure we're doing it on a solid foundation and we want to be able to see what the heck we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so cool to talk to somebody who is I'm not, as people might know on this channel, I'm not platform agnostic. I don't make Notion templates for a reason. I don't make Google Sheet templates for a reason. I'm all in on Airtable because it's the best tool for the job. And so I think a lot of us, like I've used to use Whimsical, and you mentioned too, like you're kind of forcing it to do something that you want it to do a workflow map. But I remember having to get like I was like, "Oh, I can do this block of a section." It's like you had to figure out how to make it do what you wanted it to do. That's really what I felt like when I was using spreadsheets for so long, when I was organizing other businesses. I was like an ops person and other things, and when I found Airtable, I was like, "This is the tech tool that I've been looking for." And so for people that have maybe tried to use those other workflow mapping tools like Whimsical, like Miro, like Lucidchart, and like kind of stopped using it or stopped keeping up with it. Why do you think Puzzle specifically is so great at what it does?
So the thing that stood out to me immediately, and I have to say, I'm not someone who changes tech easily. My tech stack was pretty solid for about 10 years
Yeah.
without any major changes. And so within the first 15 minutes of logging into this tool, I was like, oh, this is it. And so the things that made me think that, um, the first thing was just the visual UX of it. One of the things that was very taxing to my brain trying to use those other tools is the decision fatigue of trying to decide, how are you going to map this? Like, is this going to be a box? Is it going to be a circle? What's color is it going to be to represent an email versus a form? Like, there's all this mental overhead to doing those things. And Puzzle just has one shape with icons to represent different things. And so all that brain space I immediately got back. I was like,
Yeah.
great. The second problem was the data. The whimsicals of the world are very two-dimensional. You can paint a pretty picture, but there is so much data associated with every single step in every single process, and there was nowhere for it to go. It's like, oh, I can use a sticky note, or I'm linking out to a Google Doc, and now you're creating a spider web of things. And so Puzzle has a section for note, and all the data that I could possibly need can go in that section. I can embed videos, I can embed images, I can link out to, every single source and resource that I would need when I come back to this step 6 months later and I've forgotten what I even did or why I did it.
Yeah.
So those are two of the big ones. And I think we'll get into some of the other things, when we get into demo mode. But
Yeah.
just those two things alone were enough to make me say, like, oh, this is the future.
Yeah, and to zoom out a little bit, like before you even pick the tool that you want to do like workflow mapping in, a lot of coaches and service providers that I work with are like, they think like that's just like it's corporate, it's unnecessary, it's overkill. It's like I'm gonna build it, but then never actually reference it again. Why did you go all in on like mapping workflows and mapping processes? And why do you think that's so important, especially for those smaller like solopreneurs or those smaller teams?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how small you are. Like right now, it's just me here.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you can't improve what you can't see. And long before there was a puzzle, even probably before I started doing process mapping, I was like, can you explain what's happening inside your business without logging into a tool? And I used to talk about this in the context of Airtable, with like, you know, exporting all of my marketing data and being able to say like, oh, these are my landing pages and, these are the forms that are connected to them, and having all that data in Airtable rather than saying, let me log into fill out, let me log into ActiveCam, like
Yep.
you just need some place to be able to actually see what is happening. And a lot of the reason that people have trouble delegating is because they're carrying all this invisible information in their head, and then they hire someone thinking they're going to get relief, and then it just becomes that loop of like, oh, do this, and the person comes back to you and says, well, where's this thing, and what's this thing, and how do we do this? And so the visibility piece is key, even if you're a single person. And we just don't remember the past, right? I always say documentation is a love letter to future you, because when I come back to something, even 2 weeks later, I'm like, I don't remember what I did. So
Yeah.
I don't want that mental stress. I want to just be able to come back and say, "Oh yeah, it was this," and then, pick up where I left off.
Yeah, and I think especially as people are delegating, because we both talk a lot about like hiring your tools. Like I always say Airtable is your first hire. Like before you get a virtual assistant, before you get an OBM, having some systems that your team can walk into instead of being like it's all in my head. I don't know how this works, because what's going to happen is you are then spending days, weeks, months with your team member who doesn't like their job isn't process mapping, isn't getting it all out of your head. Like that's if you had something like a workflow map that said, okay, let's use a very specific example, which is like your inquiry process, inquiry to onboarding. So like, okay, they fill out a form. Is that form a Dubsado form? Is it an Airtable form? Okay, they get an email. Is that email sent through Zapier? Is it sent through Dubsado? Are you manually sending that email? Like understanding all of those moving pieces, because as we all know, with new offers or we tweak offers or like all of this tech and systems can do a lot of the same things. And so understanding what fires from where is you set it up, or you have an ops person set it up, or you hire an Airtable or Dipsado expert to set it up, and you're like, I know it's going out, but I don't know how it goes out. I don't know if I want to change it, what happens. And so having something like having somebody help you articulate and map out that workflow is really helpful. It's a bitch to do it if you don't have the right tool to do it. And that's why we stopped doing it, because like the tools were so annoying and cumbersome to map those things out. And so we just stopped doing it. So I'm excited to see what you have with Puzzle. I haven't played with it at all yet, to see if that's like something that we should like be incorporating, because that map out is so important.
Yeah, and I mean, everything you said. We say it better. It's just
Yeah.
like, what's going on and how is data being passed? That's one of the real game changers, is being able to literally map the data that you're collecting at each step from different tools and see and kind of follow it through a process. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because what
Like,
we do, and I'll just tell people like what we do before, like, but we don't use Puzzle yet, but we try to in Airtable, we kind of add in documentation notes, but it's because we know how to do it too. And we do it for our clients, but we say we now use Airtable interfaces, which is kind of more like an app. And we can say, hey, like we do many SOPs, like this section is populated by this onboarding app. This Airtable automation is what's going to trigger this email. So like it's in pieces, but especially for visual people, which is a lot of neurodivergent business owners, they like seeing the map is really exciting. So, what I know you have an example of somebody who has used like my Airtable systems, and you built out a puzzle process for them. So go ahead and share your screen and kind of walk us through what puzzle really looks like.
happy to. Yeah. You share? Yeah. Pick a window. All right. Is that working?
Mhm.
Okay. So, this is a our dog trainer actually, and she joined SOS. And I have a few different clients from SOS, and again, it's that visual piece, right?
Yep.
They were like, everything's super documented, but my brain wants to see it.
Yep.
And so this is the sales process. Let me actually backtrack and just talk a little bit about kind of what's in here and how it works. So there we have workflows, teams, people, and tools. So tools you can go over and you can map, you can document, the tools that you're using. You can put in, subscription costs.
Oh,
And
that's
so we
really
talk
cool.
about, yeah, so we talk about hiring tools, right? So you can literally see not just what tools are we using and what are we paying for them. Which let's see if we put in what fill out is. Oh, let me switch over to my account so I can show you. So okay, let's take active campaign that everybody loves to hate. So we can see the cost, right? But we not just the cost, but every step that this tool is attached to now appears
Cool.
over here, and then we can go to them. And then the thing I used, Brian took it away, and I was like, put that back right now. Um, if we go over here to the tool list, we can see the total number of steps. So
Wow.
when someone comes to me and they're like, I hate ActiveCampaign and I want to switch to Kit, I'm like, cool. There's 500 steps that this tool is associated with. So this is not a trivial decision, right? Are we having
Sure.
a temper tantrum, or are we going to talk about the time, energy, and money that it's going to take to actually make a migration of that size?
Yep.
So this is the like decision grade documentation part. Um, so every tool gets attached to the workflow. And then the data piece of it is you can actually map your entities of your data. So you can map like, this is what a subscriber looks like. This is the data that we collect. And this is the format of it. And then when you go over to a workflow,
This is crazy.
where's my recording? So we go over to a workflow, and inside of a step, we've got the description, we've got what stage it's in, we've got what type of step it is. We have different software, so you can only choose one icon, but you can attach as many tools.
Yep.
We have this thing is done by a person, an automation, or AI. And then we have roles, which you define over here in teams.
Okay.
So now in this step, I can go down, here's my notes, here's the entities that I've attached, and then I can go over here to the step and quickly see like, okay, this is the data we're collecting.
Yep.
So let me bring that back to a real world
Sure.
example. So one of the last projects I did for a different client of mine was we have a process we want to like make it more efficient for our contractors to request a sub or transfer a client. So they have 4 different forms associated with those things. And so the first thing I did was map the entities, which, a lot of people, and I'm very frustrated with this, it's like if AI can't do it, then they won't do it. Like nobody wants to roll up their sleeves and do like some of the little grunt work things that do all this ROI on the back end. But I took 45 minutes and I mapped out the stuff, and I'm like, there's only 2 questions in these forms that are different. You can combine these forms. And I have all the other data maps that we collected for all the other processes we created. So let me not duplicate fields because we already have this field. It just prevents you from like creating chaos
Yeah.
with your data. And the last thing I'll say before we go back to the example is about process costing, because you can, I used to do a lot of live mapping in my monthly workshop. And so this was a process where, okay, we're doing a webinar every month and it's on Eventbrite, and I'm paying my VA $15 an hour. So you just get a little VA role. And I could come down here and say, well, this is the time you're spending and this is how much or how often it happens. And you could start to see the labor costs.
Yeah.
So literally it took 10 minutes for me to map this out and show her, hey, you're paying almost $3,000 a year for your VA to copy and paste.
Whoa. Yeah. That's
And it's
that's so cool that it's really cool. Like I can already see like puzzle if you've tried to do this type of stuff in other like workflow, even Canva has workflows. It's like, it's not doing this type of stuff. And like, these are the types of data and decision, like you said, decision grade documentation. Like this tool is helping you make those types of decisions. And so that's why it's worth it to document, not just because what if a VA leaves, which is important, but like, what if like, there's so many reasons why, but also like this is a huge like ROI like forecasting tool or like just decision-making tool, like you said.
Yeah. And it's like, once you see it, it's like, well, it becomes obvious what we need to do. So then I literally copied that process and said, okay, we're going to automate literally just 2 steps. And that's going to half the labor cost for that task. And you can have your VA do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really
Um,
cool way to do, like, you're like, "Here's what it's currently costing you." This is also great for, like, ops people like me. I'm like, "Oh, if I was able to map out, here's your current process, here's how much it's
Mhm.
costing you." Like, it's just really cool to be able to, like, directly see, not just, "Oh, automations will save you time and, like, save you money." It's like, "Here's
It's
exactly how
like
much
it's like
time it would save
but
you," and
yeah, and then you
that's a
go like,
really
"No,
cool
here's how
thing.
it's gonna save you time and money." Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then we've got step coloring, so you can say like, "Hey, show me all the manual steps." And you
Yep.
can tell these different stories because you can make these rules and say, "Okay, show me all the automations," or "Show me everything that's in progress." Like, you could tell all these different stories just using these rules rather than having, like, copy the process and make a new
Yeah.
visual for each thing. So, just so good.
Great.
So um, and with my client, I went in and she had the client hub, and it was just a little too much technically for her to set up on her own. And so I was like, okay, let me just do this heavy lift for you. But also I knew, being brand new to Airtable, it was still gonna be
Yeah.
kind of overwhelming to learn. And so with every single step, there is an overview. There's like, why are we doing this? And then if there's something that she needs to do, then there's literally like a 1 to 3 minute Loom video that I embed
Yep.
that says, okay, here's exactly what you want to do. If she's going to hire somebody else to, take over helping her with tech, here's the build notes that say, hey, this is where everything is. And this is why, we built it this way. And then every possible link that you could need,
Yep.
embed code, like all the things. And so you can literally trace the path of like, okay, now this is, back to the client hub. They're going to receive a confirmation email. We know it's coming from Airtable. We know I can put the actual email text in here. We can link to the automation. We can link to the fill out, view link, the fill out form link, the place where the form is embedded because I've legit lost track.
Yeah.
I have put my forms before.
Totally.
Mm. And so you can just follow the whole process. And what's really nice doing it, with the client hub is that it's all right there. I just need to come in and like make it visual.
Yeah.
And once you've kind of mapped out um, like the basics up here, you said like, here's the description and the tool and thing. You can click this AI button and it will draft the initial notes for you.
Nice.
And you can also customize the prompt for that. So I've basically trained my prompt like this is the structure that I like my notes in, and it'll get me like 80% of the way there and it saves a
Yeah.
bunch of time.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, and you can also zoom out once you kind of understand the visual language. Like I can zoom out and I can see like, oh, fill out Airtable, Calendly, and a phone call,
Mhm.
like just right away.
Yeah, and I'm curious for you because I'm like, as a systems person, I'm like geeking out about this, but as somebody who is like, I like this feels super overwhelming to me. I think the thing to kind of zoom out and do, I see this all the time when people are overwhelmed by their systems. It's, you don't have to be building out the ideal automated situation. You just have to build out what your current process is. Because I think a lot of the times people, when they're doing something like this, they are like, well, here's all the things I wish it could do. I want this part to be automated. It's like, let's just start with, here's what you actually do and like
Yes.
map that. And then you can see all of the places where you can optimize. But I think people, it's almost like how when somebody's writing a novel and they're writing and editing at the same time. It's like write first, edit later. It's like document the process, and then once it's documented, we can see all of the ways that it could be really refined.
Yes, I could not agree more. And that is literally like the first step in my clear framework is clarify. And so and what I really love about this, because I used to be kind of like you, where I was like, I only want to work with Active Campaign, or I like, very sort of this is my tool set.
Yeah.
And what I love about this is that I don't care anymore because the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna stick away from all the tools and we're just gonna document what's actually happening now.
Yeah.
And since a lot of clients who come to me are very time poor, so one way that I do this is I just say, give me all your logins, just give me access to the stuff. I'm going to go root around and see what's actually happening and map as much as I can find. And then we will meet and have
Yeah.
a strategy call and say, like, okay, this is what I found. Is it what you expected? Like, are there things missing? And so that takes kind of the heavy lift off of them to do that. And it does start with just making it visible. Like,
Yeah.
and then you can say, okay, what is the most bottlenecky or tiring or overwhelming thing? You know, is it you're you're not selling because your lead follow-up has a bunch of holes in it? Great. Let's start there and improve that one thing.
Yeah.
And then as you go, it just compounds.
I'm curious what you do when, like, when you're on a call with a client and, like, because I know you do, what you have, like, a puzzle mapping, like, you can map out a workflow. When you're on a call with somebody, are you talking them through it and then, like, going into your lair and building out a puzzle map secretly or, like, off the call? Or are you, like, live on the call? Is this tool fast enough where you're, like, you're mapping it out while you're on the call? What does that look like?
I can do both. So
Mhm.
I in fact, as soon as I started using Puzzle, oh my god, this is hilarious. Um, do I still have fake friends of her most? So, I started using it on sales calls. I started using it on strategy calls,
Yep.
and so I wouldn't necessarily show my screen like while they were talking, but I would just be like, "And then what happened? And then what happened?
Yep.
What happened?" And I'm just like mapping as we go, and it's not, you know, as detailed as what I've shown you,
Yeah.
but getting like the basic steps out there, and then you know, once we kind of exhausted everything they can think of, then I share my screen and I say, "Okay, is this what you said?" And it's one of my favorite moments because what happens is there's this moment of relief when they realize like, "Oh, shit, I was carrying all that in my head." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Ah," you know? And, like, so just, like, having it out is just, like it's sort of this light at the end of the tunnel moment where they're like, "Oh, there is a way to get this out of my head, and
Mm.
now that it's there, you know, we can start to improve it." So, I can map in fact, so I have a offer called the Puzzle Jumpstart. It's $500, and it's, like it's great for people who see this and think, "This looks cool and I want to, but I don't wanna spend 2 weeks being overwhelmed." Like, we can just get on a call and map together, like, one of your processes so that you can get a big head start, and
Yep.
so I just signed someone to do that, this morning, and we're gonna meet next week, and we're just gonna go through, you know, and kind of get like, one essential process
Yeah.
out of her head. So, I like doing both, and then the other way, you know, people can send me their SOPs, they can send me Loom videos, they can send me login, like, it I don't really care. Like,
Mhm.
it's like whatever works for the person.
I
Um,
think what's really cool about this too is that I think both of us, like, our eyes twitch a little bit when somebody goes on Threads and asks, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about switching from active campaign to Kit." Like, and people are like, "Yes, do it." Or like, I'm thinking about moving softwares. What should I do?" And it's a very immature thing to do. Like, that's the word I'm gonna use. It's immature as a business owner to go ask Threads randomly. It is a very mature business owner to be like, "Here's my documented processes. If I moved off of Active Campaign, here's the 600 things that would have to change," like, literally on here, and, like, you get a little like, some people I see this with Dubsado a lot. Everybody wants to leave a Dubsado, and it's a $500 a year tool, and if you were able to look at this and be like, "This $500 tool saves me $47,000 in admin," or whatever the hell the number is, like, to be able to see that, you're like, "Oh, maybe it's not that bad." Or you can be like, "Wow, this is a $500 tool, and it only actually saves me, you know, $100 a year because I have so little clients. Maybe I do move off of it and do make that manual." Like, there's so much more nuance when it comes to switching tech tools, and I'll let the question and that was my rant, but on the question I want you to kind of, like, go off of is, I think that switching tools and changing processes and just, like, making, like, all these decisions is a big form of procrastination in our businesses, because if something's not working, then you switch this up, and when you start to document all this stuff and see how much time it actually takes you, I think Jordan Gill mentioned it once. She's like, "It's like moving the Titanic." It's like, you can't like, it's really like moving your tech and adding a process or documenting something, and then it's people we do this all the time. We create a process and we're like, "Oh, we actually don't, offer that anymore," or, "Oh, we don't have
Okay.
that feature anymore." And so we're like, "Well, you just whether you document it or not, you just wasted your time building a system that you aren't gonna use." And so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was my rant, but I'm curious anything you have to say about any of that.
So literally the first major thing that I did is, so I I had changed the name of my offer to $1 million Systems, and I was changing my payment processor, which was a
Mhm.
big deal. I had the same payment processor for like 9
Yep.
years, and I was like, "Okay." And I had my reasons, and so I mapped out the complete onboarding process, and once I did that, literally all I had to do was go to each step that involved that payment processor and switch it out to the new one and reconnect the zaps.
Yeah.
And so it just made a huge difference.
Yeah, because like, I feel like it's like, yeah, documenting a process is a waste of time if you plan on abandoning that process and abandoning that offer in 2 weeks. It's like, yeah, it's not gonna be, but if you are committed to that offer and committed to improving it and refining it and wanna spend your time doubling down on something, having something like that is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And I think one of the challenges with something like this is people understanding the value, like, when they're not systems people. Like, when I
Mhm.
show this to someone like you or other systems people, we just kiki and giggle and nerd out and, we're in our little happy place. But when you show it to somebody who's like, "Okay, why do I need this?" So here's a concrete example.
Yeah.
I had a client, and we've been working together for about a little over a year, and we had set up initially a huge new onboarding system using Airtable. Everything was mapped out. And then a year later, she was like, "Hey, I want to change the name of this offer." Um, and she literally said, "I wish there was some kind of dashboard I could look at to see all the places where we mentioned the name of this offer, because it's literally like 100 places." And I literally sent her the puzzle link. It was like this. Because like all the email copy was like in the step that was an email step. All the web pages where this offer was mentioned were documented. And so it took me a couple of days to go through and like just go through all those steps and click through to the different places and update all those places. And then
Yeah.
it's one of those things, it's like you don't see it until you see it. Oh, and I think one of the things, sometimes I'll do this documentation and clients will offboard and they won't take it with them
Mhm.
because they have to get their own puzzle account. And I'm like, why do I need that? And it just makes me so sad because I've been in it. I know every time they come back to me 3 months after I did something and say, well, what's going on with this? Or can we change this? And I don't have to spend, 2 hours going and refiguring out what it was that we were doing. I
Yeah.
literally just go to puzzle and find the step.
Yeah.
I have been experiencing that, but they have not.
Right.
So sometimes they think, well, I don't need that. But then eventually they're going to hire someone else, or they're going to come back and they're going to have to refigure it out. And so if you can have the vision to
Mhm.
see that, like, this is just going to compound how much time and effort you save the more you put into it. And
And what is the pricing of puzzle?
puzzle is $40 a month per user.
Okay.
And so like and you have, there's different level, access to like different features, but I think the one I'm using is 40 bucks a month. It gives you access to all the coloring and all the stuff that I showed. And like for what it does, like it's insanely cheap, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's not like hugely expensive. It's not like a ClickFunnels or a, you know, and I just have it open all the time. Like my latest podcast is called Process Mapping Should Be as Routine as Brushing Your Teeth,
Mm.
because I want to highlight the culture change of like, I'm not waiting till the end of the month and going, oh, let me go update all my processes because I will have forgot.
Yeah.
So I literally just have a tab open, and as I'm changing things, whether it's for myself or clients, I take 30 seconds or a minute and I go update what I did.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you create that habit, then it's not this like extra huge burden. It's just a value.
Yeah. And something that I always like to do whenever, because like I know you're saying $40 is not that expensive for a lot of the people that we work with. They're like a $40 processing software is expensive. Like that's crazy. I could do it in Google Docs. I could put it in Airtable, but just to kind of ground us in, I always like to make sure that I get like a 10x ROI on something. So let's say it's $480 a year for puzzle. If you're a serious business owner, you instead of just like the default, like, oh God, that's so expensive. $500 is expensive. I hear that a lot. I'm like, the Dubsado of it all. It's like Dubsado is so expensive. It's like, all right, pause. What is it doing for your business? Like, is it giving you $5,000 in value every year? Then it's actually a pretty solid deal, even though like 500 might feel like sticker shock for somebody. Like, you've already outlined ways that it can easily make you, let's say, like, how can puzzle make you 5 grand a year? Like, how can doing this make you 5 grand a year? You already mentioned being able to map out the manual time that it takes for somebody on your team to do something. That decision, like, it helps you make the decision and see the places where you could easily save thousands of dollars by finding the spots where you could take it from a human to automation. What are some other ways that, like, doing this can make you money?
Aside from the like the human capital, then there's the sort of tool chaos of it all, right? Because when you really start to document how many tools
Yeah.
people are using or misusing or underutilizing, being able to have a place where not only do you collect like these are all the tools, but these are the jobs. And so you start to see what the overlap is, and you're like, oh, I don't really need HubSpot. I could use MailerLite or, whatever it is. And so that just doing that alone could make Puzzle more than pay for itself.
Yeah.
And I will say for the price conscious people, Puzzle has a forever free plan. It's not really a plan, but it's a trial. So you can go and you can sign up without paying for it, without putting in a credit card, and you can use every single feature. You're just limited to 50 steps. So you can go and you can, play with it for your business, and you can get hooked, and then you can decide, yes, okay, this is worth paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool because that's something I like. I like those type of plans with the software where they're like, here's what it looks like, all of it. It's just limited to the amount of like steps you can do, so you can really get a taste of it.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, this is awesome. I mean, I'm going to talk to you immediately offline about how we can use Puzzle in our business because it does make sense, especially like we are doing done for you client hub builds. And the first thing we do is an offer experience audit. And in that we're saying, okay, what happens next? Okay, who sends that? Okay, what's going on here? And then we build it out. And we don't have something like Puzzle. So it could be interesting to see how that could work in our businesses. But thank you so much for I've watched you like niche down on this tool and like be like besties with the CEO or like at least have like a direct line, and you're really one of the early adopters of this tool. So thank you for being here to kind of show us what it can look like.
Yeah, I've never been this early, and it's exciting because
Yeah.
it's not. I feel like I'm like, how did we make it to 2024 with nobody solving this problem? And so, it's not just about the software, it's about the fact that we literally have not had a tool to be able to do this.
Yep.
And now we have to create a movement to, just like you're like, okay, Airtable is a new standard. Like the
Yeah.
Client Hub is the new standard of client experience. And so I really believe Puzzle is the new standard of documentation, and decision grade documentation is going to be, a phrase that you start hearing people say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting to be this early, and yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to see what happens.
Well, there'll be a ton of different ways to connect with Kronda in the description. Highly recommend the puzzle, like getting started with that puzzle workflow. That what do you call it?
The
The
jump
blueprint,
start.
jump start. Yeah, that's a great way to just kind of, especially if you're brand new to puzzle, you can play around with it. But like, I feel the same way with Airtable. It's like you can play around with Airtable, but having somebody have the setup, have the template, and then you can duplicate that for your additional workflows. Like that is such a better way to do something like this than the alternative.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks so much for your time. And if anybody has questions about puzzle, Airtable, mapping, or anything like that, go ahead and drop those in the comments and we'll be sure to get to those as well. So thanks so much for your time.